Warning, Sable contains gruesome depictions of violence, gore, and strong language. It's intended for mature audiences only. Thanks for listening. Sable, The Shattered Worlds, Episode 8, Praise the Altar. Gunshots echoed throughout the thick forest, followed by hoots and screams from the animalistic horrors that chased the three rebellion fighters. Though there seemed to be a sea of these naked, bony humans, none of the bullets seemed to hit their marks. Despite this, Serena and Rebecca kept shooting, just praying that their persistence would hinder their attackers' will to keep chasing them. It didn't. Of course it didn't. Hey! Hey! Corypheus cried out over the shooting. Do you think maybe we should just stop wasting our ammo and keep running? Both Serena and Rebecca glared at her, the mage rolling her eyes, moving to look ahead. Fine, don't listen to your friend when she makes a suggestion. That's cool. Thunk! Everyone stopped dead in their tracks as several crudely shaped spears shot out and stuck themselves into the giant oak tree before them. Each shaft vibrated, the whirling sound filling the three women's ears. Though neither wanted to admit it, they knew that those spears were meant to strike the tree, and if they were aimed at the rebellion fighters, all of them would have hit their targets. No problem. Now, a twisted voice rattled behind them, causing all three to spin about to face the speaker. How about y'all stop all that pesky running, yeah? Bet you're mighty tired after this little marathon. A laugh followed that could have cooled the very pits of hell itself. He was a stark contrast to the massive human monsters around him. He was shorter, thicker, a massive round belly bouncing about with each word he spoke. His skin was milky, almost translucent, and it had a wet sheen to it, almost like he was constantly drenched in sweat. Black, clotted hair draped over his shoulders, a patchy gray beard covering up a pot-marked face. Two beady, green eyes looked over the three, a crude smile stretching his lips from one ear to the other. Now, how's about we all just relax, huh? The leader purred out, his voice sickly sweet, like honey with just a tad bit of venom for good measure. That creepy, nerve-wracking smile stayed planted on his lips, almost as if he could not stop. His chiseled-down yellow teeth always presented for the rest of the crowd. No need for any more shooting and things of the like. Just come with us and have a little chat. There ain't nothing wrong with that, is there? No, just a nice little chat where you can put your feet up and just... relax. Another laugh that shook his port belly. One could almost hear the digesting food in there if they listened hard enough. Wouldn't all three of you like that? A relaxing day? A vacation? Oh, you and the Resistance work so hard for so little return, it must be awfully exhausting. Right, family? He looked towards the monsters around him, all of them nodding, never letting their eyes leave the three that were before them, more crude spears at the ready. See? Even they agree, and they're dumber than a box of hammers. Chittered laughs followed that from the crowd. I kid, of course. Come on now, let's get back home and have that talk, huh? The whole time he had been speaking, Corey was mumbling under her breath, barely moving her lips as she chanted, beginning to summon a spell. It was a nice trick the theaterman had taught her, a surefire way to get a spell ready without the enemy knowing. Hell, it was even hard for other mages to know, the magical energy pulling into Corey's form practically untraceable to the untrained mind. She just needed a few more seconds, and then she'd be able to get all three of them out of here, leaving nothing but burnt corpses in their wake. She eyed Serena and Rebecca, silently letting them know she had an idea without going into the specifics. They just blinked in unison, a sign that both of them understood. Good. They'd still be pissed off at Corey after they teleported elsewhere. If you've never had the pleasure of teleporting, the first time is always the worst. Lots of vomiting and screaming. Still, it would be better than being captured by a bunch of deranged humans that were also probably cannibals, right? Shunk! Corey whimpered helplessly as a spear flew towards her, hitting its mark with deft precision. Her eyes fell to the shaft vibrating after the impact, the metal shard having dug itself into her stomach, piercing her armor and flesh with ease. Her body began to tremble, her hands shaking as they grabbed for the spear. Oh, gods! It was in deep, blood beginning to pool out around it. She then looked towards Serena and Rebecca, who were both motionless in shock, their mouths hanging open. No, this couldn't be how she died, not like this. Her legs quivered until she was forced to drop to the ground. "Now that ain't gonna kill you, a strong woman like yourself," the man practically whispered, his voice becoming much more venomous. "But it is gonna hurt like a summer bitch for a long, long time. Bet I'll even make casting those fancy magic tricks of yours that much harder, He smiled as all three looked upon him with shock. Oh, you didn't think I knew anything about you three. Just thought I had a hankering to kill me some resistance fighters, no matter who they might be." The man shook his head, more chittering coming from the crowd around him. "Rebecca and Serena Jones, and their lovely mage friend Corypheus. I know all about you three. He told me about you." Serena was the first to speak, her voice trembling. Who told you about us?" She dropped her gun to her side, knowing she had been bested. "Here, how about we take you to him, the man suggested, trying to speak over Corypheus's pained attempts at breathing. "Show you how meaningless this little war is, how useless it is to keep fighting a force that's unstoppable." "And if we refuse?" Rebecca growled, her gun still pointing at all of them. "What if I just go ahead and blow your fucking brains out right here, right now, huh? What then?" A powerful silence filled the forest, the man and Rebecca staring at each other, no one around them willing to make a move. Serena's eyes were glued to Rebecca, her face turning pale. They'd then dart down to Corypheus, who was managing to breathe a little easier, but was still groaning in pain with each suck of air. "Oh, you wouldn't do that, no. You may want to. You may want to see my blood splattered over every inch of this goddamned forest. But you won't. And why's that? Why wouldn't I fucking do it?" The man chuckled. "Because if you did, you'd never get to see little Julie again. She'd have to grow up in this new world without her mothers." He grinned wider as he saw the realization cross Rebecca's face, Serena gasping. "The world's changing. It's a violent, angry change, but it's coming. And why, oh why would you risk leaving your daughter here all alone when the shit finally hits the fan? Doesn't sound very motherly of you. Fuck off." Now, no need for such harsh language, especially when I'm offering you a way back, a better way." Once he knew Rebecca would remain silent, he continued, "Like I said, just come with us and have a little chat. See things from our perspective. And if you don't like what we have to offer, we'll let you go, free as birds in the open sky. Doesn't that sound easy? Hell, we'll even fix up your little magic friend here so she can leave too." He spread out his arms in a peaceful gesture. "What more could you possibly ask for? How much more generous can I be?" Rebecca and Serena looked towards one another, the grim realization finally sinking in for the both of them. There was no way out of here violently. Sure, they might have been able to blow his brains out, but what about the rest? They didn't have nearly enough bullets, and it wasn't like things would be any easier carting Corypheus around while she was wounded. Though they wished for any other outcome, Serena nodded, both of them putting their guns away and lifting their hands in the air. Corypheus tried to do the same, but the pain was just too much for her. "All right," Serena choked out, her body still trembling. "All right, we'll go back with you, but you better fix our friend up here first. Before any talkings or negotiations happen, Corypheus needs to have her wounds tended to. Understand?" The man laughed, licking at his lips. I didn't really think you'd be in a position to make terms, but you know what? I'm feeling mighty generous right now. Sure, we'll tend to the mage first." He turned to point at a couple of his followers. "All right, family, time to go back home, but first..." One of his hands moved out towards the crowd. Was someone handing him something? "Let's take care of our little magic user here, yeah?" "Guys," Corypheus whispered, her voice pained, trembling. "Guys." Serena and Rebecca turned to look towards her, her face growing deathly pale. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna get us out of here." "What?" Rebecca growled through gritted teeth. "Are you fucking insane? You can't do anything in the state you're in." "Rebecca, if you seriously think he's going to help us out in any way, you're fucking insane. He's gonna off me right here, and then he's going to take you two back and kill you, slowly." "How can you possibly know that?" "'Cause one of his bastards is giving him a loaded gun." And just as soon as the words passed her lips, the man before them spun about, pistol aimed right at Corypheus's head. "Sorry, loves, the spear's just a bit too deep inside of her at this point. Putting the old girl out of her misery is really the only option we have here." With a crude laugh, his fingers danced upon the trigger before finally pulling back. There was a burst of light as the bullet zipped out from the barrel, moving towards its target, Corypheus's head. "Now!" Corypheus screamed out, blood shooting from her lips as energy coursed through her body, pumping adrenaline into every ounce of her, making her forget the pain. Teleportation was impossible at this point, but her favorite rage spell? Oh, there was always time for that, especially when she needed to crush some skulls, and she knew which one she was going to shatter first. With a scream that sounded like a million voices pouring from her all at once, she stood, her legs no longer trembling. Muscles flexed and tightened as the magical energy took over her form. Time had slowed to a crawl for everyone around her except for Corypheus. She moved freely in this paused world, tearing the spear from her stomach and throwing it towards the crowd of monsters. It hung in the air before her, her blood still coating half of it, the drops of crimson liquid hovering in the air. Once time started again, it would hit its target, hopefully. Now that she had some time, she reached down with a free hand and burnt the wound, flames erupting from her fingertips, lighting her stomach on fire. It hurt like hell, but at least the bleeding would stop. "Motherfucker!" she growled out, looking towards the bullet and the man who shot it. With ease, she gripped the hovering bullet between her index and thumb, heading towards the cult's leader. "Here's a present for you. No need to fucking thank me." She positioned the bullet to point towards his eye. Now came the fun part. With minimal pain, Corypheus drew her blades and began slashing her way through the crowd, none of them able to counter her cuts. She didn't have much time before the spell ended, but she'd be damned if she'd let this last-ditch effort go to waste. She'd not be able to cast anything for another week after this, but that was all right with her. Just as long as Serena and Rebecca managed to get back to their Julie, just as long as she'd be able to get yelled at by Crow for doing something so totally stupid. She reached the last of the crowd before the spell finally wore off, screams filling her ears while blood splattered all over her form. It was a bloodbath in the blink of an eye, Serena and Rebecca looking towards their friend in horror as Corypheus became drenched in the crimson syrup. Corey smiled towards her friends before the drain began to take a hold of her. She stumbled, gripping a tree before she could fall to the ground, her chest heaving. It would be hard to walk for days, but at least they'd all have the option to keep walking. That wouldn't have been the case if they had decided to go along with the cult. Don't even bother telling me I shouldn't have done that, Corey wheezed out, feeling more exhausted than she had ever felt before. I really don't want to hear it. Oh, by the gods, did she need a nap? Maybe she could just close her eyes for a moment. That wouldn't be too bad, would it? Splat! All three of them looked towards each other at the sudden sound. What could that have been? Splat! Splat! 2 more wet thumps against the earth in rapid succession. They looked around for the source before their eyes all went up into the skies, a look of horror crossing their faces. The sky was now gone, hidden behind something truly impossible. It looked like a city, flipped upside down, massive skyscrapers pointing down at the three of them, almost threatening to crumble and crush them under the debris. What the fuck? Rebecca whispered as she saw hundreds of thousands of bodies falling from the upside-down city, screams from the victims filling the forest, blocking any other sounds. Reality was splitting. Null's existence and the simulation organisms had broken every law of reality, and this, what was happening above Corey, Serena, and Rebecca, was the end result, the price that needed to be paid for their existence. The mirrored world was here. The convergence could truly begin. Sable was written and narrated by me, Lane Lloyd, and Sable's theme was written and performed by Moonplatoon, which you can find a link to their SoundCloud in the show notes below. For as long as SoundCloud is still existing. I don't know what's going on with that. Have they decided if they're actually getting rid of it or not? Anyway, that's a discussion for later, because I need to tell you that if you really like the show, you should, I would like you to leave a comment, a review, and just share the show. Just tell people about it. Tell about people on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, all the social media. If you have a MySpace, put it up on MySpace. If you have a My Yearbook, which I don't even know if a lot of people knew that was a thing. My Yearbook was fun. Anyway, so just share the show if you would. That would be really great. If you cannot get enough of my voice throughout the week, I host a comedy show. I know that's weird considering the nature of this show, but yeah, I have a comedy show called Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends. Basically, I get together with a different guest every episode. They've primarily been people involved in the audio drama community, but I'm hoping to expand. I also have a few indie writers and people who don't typically write for a living on the show, which that's been fun. It's actually been a lot of fun dealing with people who don't typically write fiction and then throwing them into a situation where it's like, okay, not only are you writing fiction, you're writing random fiction, so it's probably not even a subject that you're super interested in, but it's always been fun. Everybody's stories have been great. Mine have been okay. This month is pretty cool. I'm going all out because I fucking love Halloween. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Halloween. So not only is Sable getting its Halloween special this year, which means another Ray Costly episode, but Impromptu Fiction, I'm doing something kind of big and something that has a chance of not working. So I'm a bit nervous on that part, but check out the episode that's going up today, which is the 8th of October, for Impromptu Fiction, the episode's not a person. The episode has Alex from In Greater Boston on, and it kind of starts the Halloween event. It's going to be dumb. I really hope it works. I'm scared. The Ray Costly thing, I know people like Ray Costly. I did it for, I did a Halloween and a Christmas special already, so I feel confident about Ray Costly. And who knows, maybe the episode won't be great, but I at least know that people like that structure. I am mortified about what I'm doing with Impromptu Fiction's Halloween special, but more news will be up for both of those in terms of release dates and things of that nature. I should also say that there is a special episode coming up this week on Sable. It's not Sable related. It is an advertisement for another show that I'm not on that show, but the people in charge of it, kind of spoke to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to get as many people listening to the show as possible," and I am a big fan of promoting people's work. I like doing that, and yes, they're paying me, but in all honesty, I listened to the episode. I would have done it without money because it's really cool. It's about you know what? I'll keep it a secret. So just so you know, that is coming. That's not going to interfere with episode 9 at all. Like, Sable's still going to be... There's still going to be a Sable next week. It's just you're getting this special, like, ad/promo for this other podcast that I think you'll... I mean, if you like Sable, you like horror, I'm assuming. So you'll like that podcast. So just putting that little warning out there, just so no one's like, "Oh my god, I didn't think this was going to be in my feed." I'd like you to listen to it. Obviously, you don't have to if the idea of of an advertisement bothers you. I wouldn't expect this to be a normal thing. I'm kind of just trying it out because it's Halloween and it's kind of all happening at the right time. But I really like the subject matter, so that's kind of why I agreed to do it. So expect that. I'm trying to think of what else I can... Oh yeah, Sable is part of the Fatecrafters Network of podcasts. If you need a podcast recommendation from them, I would of course say all of them. But more specifically, let's say Rick's Riveter. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that last word right. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. It's a crime noir podcast, which I really like. I can't listen to it in like huge chunks, but that's only because I can't do that with a lot of crime podcasts, especially crime noir. It's not my favorite subject. I do like it when it's well done. It's just something that I've never been a fan of. So even the stuff that's really well done, like Rex, I can't listen to in huge chunks, but hopefully you can, because it's a really great podcast. I'm behind on it, but it's a great podcast, and I think you should check it out. And of course, the link to the Fatecrafters site will be in the show notes below, as well as everything else. This has been Lane. I was about to say I'm Sable. I'm Sable. I have become the podcast. But yeah, I'm Lane. This has been Sable. And I will see you guys on Tuesday, October 10th for the special episode. And then next Sunday for episode 9 of season 4. So, peace. I love you guys. Except for you, Jim. I really love you, Jim.